What if you could buy anything in the world? Absolutely anything. Would that make you happy? Would that solve all your problems? Chidi Okonkwo certainly thought so. After all, as the old Igbo proverb goes, the child of an elephant will not be a dwarf. Chidi believed his wealth would ensure his family's greatness for generations to come. The morning sun glinted off the polished marble floors of Okonkwo Tower as Chidi strode through the lobby, his handmade Italian loafers clicking with each confident step. At 45, he was the epitome of success. Bespoke suit, perfectly groomed hair, and a smile that could charm even the most hardened business rival. The scent of success, mingled with his expensive cologne, trailed in his wake. "Good morning, Oga Okonkwo," chirped the receptionist, her eyes wide with admiration and a hint of fear. Chidi nodded, barely registering her presence. His mind was already racing with the day's agenda. As he rode the private elevator to the top floor, he mentally ticked off his latest conquests. A new yacht moored in Monaco, a private island off the coast of Seychelles, and most recently, the historic Oluwole building, soon to be demolished for his newest skyscraper project. The elevator doors opened, revealing a bustling trading floor. Screens flashed with numbers, and the air crackled with the energy of money in motion. This was Chidi's domain. This was where he truly felt alive. "Chidi!" called out his right-hand man, Emeka. "The community leaders are here about the Oluwole project. They're not happy." Chidi's lips curled into a smirk. "Let them stew for a bit. I'll be there in 10. He sauntered into his office, a sprawling space with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city he practically owned. Settling into his leather chair, he pulled out a sleek checkbook, the weight of it a comfort in his hands. When he entered the conference room, 30 minutes later, the tension was palpable. 5 community leaders, their faces etched with worry and anger, sat around the large oak table. The scent of palm oil and spices from their traditional attire mingled with the sterile air conditioning. "Gentlemen," Chidi began, his voice smooth as silk, "I understand your concerns about the Oluwole building. It's a cherished part of our city's history, but progress, as they say, waits for no one." An elderly man, his eyes fierce despite his frail frame, spoke up. "That building has been the heart of our community for over a century, Mr. Okonkwo. You can't just tear it down for another soulless skyscraper. Our ancestors' spirits reside there." Chidi's smile never wavered, though inwardly he scoffed at such superstitions. "I hear you, I truly do, which is why I've prepared this." He slid a check across the table. 1 billion naira for your community fund. Build a new center, fund some programs. Think of all the good you could do. The room fell silent. Chidi could see the conflict in their eyes, the desire to protect their heritage warring with the allure of such a substantial sum. Finally, the elderly man pushed the check back. "Our history isn't for sale, Mr. Okonkwo. Not everything has a price tag. Remember, water may cover the footprint on the ground, but it does not cover the words of the mouth. Your actions here will be remembered." For a moment, Chidi was taken aback. It was rare for anyone to refuse his money, but he quickly regained his composure. "I respect your position. Why don't you take some time to think it over? My offer stands." As the group filed out, Chidi felt a twinge of something. Admiration? Annoyance? He pushed the feeling aside. They'd come around. Money always won in the end. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings, calls, and deals. By evening, Chidi had secured a major merger, outmaneuvered a competitor, and added another zero to his net worth. As he was preparing to leave, his phone buzzed. It was his wife, Adana. "Chidi, it's Chiamaka. She collapsed at school. We're at the hospital." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Chiamaka, his youngest daughter, his little princess. "I'm on my way," he said, already rushing to the elevator. At the hospital, he found Adana in the waiting room, her face pale with worry. "What happened?" he demanded. "They're running tests," Adana said, her voice trembling. "They don't know yet." Chidi paced the sterile hallway, feeling utterly helpless. This wasn't a problem he could throw money at least not yet. When the doctor finally emerged, his grave expression sent a chill down Chidi's spine. "Mr. and Mrs. Okonkwo," the doctor began, "I'm afraid I have some difficult news. Chiamaka has a rare genetic disorder. It's terminal." The words hit Chidi like a physical blow. Terminal. His little girl with her infectious laugh and boundless energy was dying. It couldn't be true. There must be something we can do, Chidi insisted, his mind already racing. Experimental treatments, specialists, money is no object. I'll fly her anywhere in the world. The doctor shook his head sadly. I'm sorry, Mr. Okonkwo. This condition is so rare, there's very little research. We can make Chiamaka comfortable, but... Chidi tuned out the rest. His mind couldn't accept it. There had to be a way. There was always a way. But a small voice in the back of his mind whispered an old proverb. One who has been bitten by a snake lives in fear of worms. For the first time in his life, Chidi felt truly powerless. Over the next weeks, Chidi threw himself into finding a cure with the same ferocity he applied to his business deals. He flew in specialists from around the world, funded rushed research studies, even tried to bribe his way into experimental drug trials. But for the first time in his life, Chidi Okonkwo found himself facing a problem that his vast fortune couldn't solve. As Chiamaka's condition worsened, Chidi spent more and more time at the hospital. His empire began to falter without his constant attention, but he hardly noticed. The world of high finance that had once consumed him now seemed trivial and empty. One evening, as he sat by Chiamaka's bedside, she stirred from her medication-induced sleep. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice weak but her eyes bright. "Can you tell me a story?" Chidi felt his throat tighten. "Of course, Princess. What kind of story would you like?" Chiamaka thought for a moment. "Tell me about when you were little. Were you always rich?" The question caught Chidi off guard. He realized he had never really talked to his children about his past. "No, sweetheart. I grew up in a small compound in the village with your grandma and grandpa. We didn't have much money, but we were happy." As he spoke, memories long buried began to surface. He told Chiamaka about helping his mother in her small market stall, about the thrill of saving up for months to buy his first pair of shoes, about the warmth of family gatherings where love and laughter filled in for what was lacking on the table. Chiamaka listened, enraptured. "That sounds nice," she said softly. "I wish I could have known you then." Chidi felt something crack inside him. He had spent so many years chasing wealth, believing it was the key to happiness, that he had lost sight of what truly mattered. Here, in this sterile hospital room, facing the imminent loss of his precious daughter, he realized the hollowness of his golden mirage. In the weeks that followed, Chidi underwent a profound transformation. He stepped back from his company, delegating day-to-day operations to focus on spending time with Chiamaka and his family. He reached out to the community leaders about the Oluwole building, not with a checkbook in hand, but with a genuine desire to listen and understand their perspective. As Chiamaka's condition deteriorated, Chidi found himself reevaluating everything he had once held dear. The pursuit of wealth that had driven him for so long now seemed empty and meaningless in the face of his daughter's fading life. He remembered another proverb his grandmother used to say, "Not to know is bad, not to wish to know is worse." Chidi realized he had been willfully blind to the things that truly mattered in life. On a crisp morning, with the family gathered around her bed, Chiamaka took her last breath. The loss was devastating, but in the depths of his grief, Chidi found a new purpose. In the months that followed, he established the Chiamaka Okonkwo Foundation, dedicated to researching rare childhood diseases. The Oluwole building, instead of being demolished, was renovated into a state-of-the-art research center and community space, preserving its historical significance while serving a new purpose. Chidi Okonkwo, once known for his cutthroat business tactics, became a champion for ethical business practices and philanthropic giving. He used his wealth and influence not to further his own interests, but to make a real difference in people's lives. He often reflected on the proverb, "Hands wash each other," understanding now the interconnectedness of community and the importance of helping others. As he stood at the podium during the opening ceremony of the Chiamaka Okonkwo Research Center, Chidi looked out at the crowd. He saw faces from all walks of life, scientists, community members, families affected by rare diseases. In that moment, he felt a sense of fulfillment that all his previous successes had never provided. "Money can buy a lot of things," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "but it can't buy what truly matters. Love, compassion, and the connections we make with others. It took losing my daughter to understand that. This center is not just Chiamaka's legacy, but a reminder to us all that our true wealth lies in how we touch the lives of others. He paused, remembering a proverb his father often repeated: "What an old man sees while lying down, a young man can never see, even when he climbs up in a tree." Chidi now understood the wisdom in those words. His experiences had given him a perspective that his younger, ambitious self could never have comprehended. "I stand before you today not as a successful businessman, but as a father who has learned the hardest lesson of all," Chidi continued. Our actions, our words, our choices, they ripple out into the world in ways we can't always see or understand. But they matter. They shape not just our lives, but the lives of those around us and those who will come after us. He gestured to the renovated Oluwole building behind him. This building stands as a testament to the power of community, of heritage, and of hope. It reminds us that progress doesn't always mean tearing down the old to make way for the new. Sometimes it means finding new purpose in what already exists. As he spoke, Chidi could see the elderly community leader who had stood up to him months ago. The man nodded, a look of respect in his eyes. Chidi realized that in preserving the building, he had not just saved a structure, but had honored the wisdom and values of those who came before him. In honoring Chiamaka's memory through this foundation, we're not just funding research, Chidi explained. We're creating a community of support for families facing unimaginable challenges. We're saying to them, you are not alone. Your struggles matter. Your children matter. As he concluded his speech, Chidi felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The golden mirage that had driven him for so long had finally dissipated, revealing a path of true purpose and meaning. In honoring Chiamaka's memory and helping others, Chidi Okonkwo had found something far more valuable than all the riches in the world. He had found his humanity. The applause that followed was thunderous, but Chidi barely heard it. His mind was on Chiamaka, on the lessons she had taught him in her short life. He thought of another proverb: a tree is bent while it is still wet. He vowed to ensure that his remaining children, and all the children he could reach through his foundation, would grow up understanding the true meaning of wealth and success. As he stepped down from the podium, Adana took his hand, tears in her eyes but a smile on her face. Chiamaka would be proud, she whispered. Chidi squeezed her hand, feeling a sense of peace he had never known in all his years of chasing wealth. Yes, he agreed. And I think, finally, I've become someone she would have been proud to know. Together they walked into the research center, ready to begin the next chapter of their lives. One focused not on accumulating wealth, but on spreading love, fostering community, and making a real difference in the world. The golden mirage had faded, replaced by something far more valuable, a legacy of compassion, understanding, and hope. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting life lessons folktales, just like this one. Thank you.